you as this human aspect. You are an aspect of God, you are an aspect of your soul, which means you are a vibrational component. The experiencer you are of other dimensions. And right now you are the human physical aspect of your non-physical soul who has chosen to and has been experiencing this third dimensional contrasting realm of vibration for eons of time.
Today we're talking with Cindy Edison, channel for the Collective Joseph. Welcome in, Cindy. How are you doing today?
Kimberly, so nice to be here. I love you. And I'm so grateful for what you're doing here. I'm
Oh,
excited about this and excited about you rolling this out. It's really wonderful. Thanks for having us.
yeah, I'm so glad that you're here. And I've been excited about you all morning, as I shared
Oh,
just a few minutes ago before we went on air. I've been so excited. I went to bed last night excited I get to talk to Cindy in the morning. So I'm just thrilled. I
oh,
want to kind of take you back for those who are watching who are not familiar with you or kind of new to your story. What were you doing before you started the automatic writing? And let's talk a little
yeah.
bit about what that is and how that worked for you.
Well, as you can imagine, it's a really long story, so I'll cut down to the chase. Well, I want to say to the important stuff, and they're saying it's all important. Um, but to fit it into, a year or two. I was born, raised Catholic, which meant I knew nothing about, I knew to fear God. That's what I knew, and didn't know
Yeah.
anything about the Bible or anything. And so I kind of tried to stay under the radar. So I wasn't a religious practicing person. And so that's my background, kind of. In 2003, I think it was, I had a crash. A lot of us go through these crashes where everything went away. My entire life just went away. I found myself, tons of stuff brought me to this point, but I found myself laying in the fetal position on the floor of my apartment, crying for like 2 weeks and saying, "You forgot about me. You forgot about me." I was just destitute. I was ready to leave. My whole life had just crashed, really. Everything stopped. And that's where it began. That's where the first communication began, not the automatic writing. It wasn't that didn't happen for 6 years. That didn't happen until 2009. But in the first 6 years, obviously, I was being led. I knew it on some level. They took me through Christianity. Jesus was my first guide. I heard his audible voice 5 times at very pertinent times during that 6 years. Took me through the Bible, read it several times, tested everything, loved it. Couldn't find a church that I felt comfortable in. I wanted to learn the Bible, but nobody was teaching the Bible. They were teaching fear. And I understand now the Bible teaches a lot of fear, depending on how you interpret it. And as soon as they took me in, they took me out. And I remember when I finally had stopped trying to find churches, I said, I found a few television people that were preaching the Bible that I loved. And so I said, I'm going to do this myself. So every Sunday morning for 3 or 4 hours, I would sit there with my Bible and my coffee and just read along with them. I was shifting. Didn't know it then, but I was shifting and changing. And then one day, this guy that I had adored said something that he had said many, many times. And all of a sudden, I didn't believe it anymore. In a snap, I just didn't believe it anymore. And I actually stood up and I held my Bible up in my hand and I said, "I don't believe you are contained in this book anymore." Can't believe I even did that, but I actually did that. And I said, "So you're going to have to show me now." And that's when the shift, the next segment of my shift started. Fast forward to 2009, I had been in advertising for about 35 years, advertising and marketing on the creative side, loved every minute of it. And I sat down to write an article, a magazine article, and sitting there just thinking about my headline, and all of a sudden I just started typing Dear Cindy. And 9 pages later, I had this compilation of a bunch of stuff I didn't understand, but I was so intrigued. It was all about me and my life. And that's where the automatic writing started. And then I was off on a new pathway.
Okay, let me stop you right here because my suspicion is that there are people watching that are having similar experiences. And I had the same experience about 5 years ago with writing in my journal, where all of a sudden what I was writing wasn't coming from me.
Yeah. Well, it really was. But yeah, we could talk about that in a second
Yeah.
too. But yeah, I get it.
Tell me what that felt like when you were typing words that weren't consciously coming from you. It was a different source. Can you explain more how that felt and how you were able to go with the flow to get 9 pages of information?
I actually can't tell you how it felt now because now I understand it. I didn't understand it then, but now I understand the difference between when you say it wasn't me, and I say the same thing. I knew it wasn't me, but it really is us. It's an aspect of us that I
Mm-hmm.
understand now. It's our soul, or what we refer
Right.
to as the soul, higher self, whatever. So it's not a conscious choice to choose the words and to type the words. It's a
Yes.
vibrational translation, and that's what it is. It's vibrational language. It's universal language of vibration. And that's how it starts. We start hearing. And I don't know about you, but my questions were, who are you? What
And
are
what are you
you?
doing in my
What are you
head?
doing? Yes. What do you want? And the answer for me was always the same. We are you. We are you. We are you. Well, it took me years to get to the point where I could understand what that meant, you know. But so I know this is happening a lot. I know it is. I hear it from my clients too. What am I hearing? Everybody says, how do I know it's not me? And I started out that way too. And Joseph would always say, but we are you. We are you. So that's a shift in perspective that is necessary really for the human aspect. We we as the human collective, we tend to, well, we're taught that we are separate from this entity. We're separate from the rest of us. Took me a while to understand, and Joseph teaches us we're not separate from anything, right? This is where the oneness teaching comes in. We are a big blob of vibration, and we are aspects. We are all aspects. They said to me one time, which was the beginning of this lesson for me, um, they said, you are an aspect of us. And I said, okay. And I pictured myself smaller than them. And then they followed that by saying, and we are an aspect of you. And that leveled the field for me. A
Mhm.
little difficult to say, well, I'm not as good as you, right? Because all of us are unworthy to this higher aspect. And that's another thing we need to shift because it's just not true. But they are not complete without us, and we are not complete without them. It's a symbiotic relationship of vibration.
Yeah.
And
And I want to interject here because this
yeah,
is such an important point to me. And it's a shift that I've recently made. We have a concept, an almost pervasive concept on this planet of being less than, somehow not good enough, somehow flawed and sinners and this and that. I'm not sure at this juncture, and maybe Joseph can talk to us later about this, if that is part of the challenge of being here on Earth School, or if it's part of the deception.
well, it's certainly we don't refer to anything as deception. Of course, it appears that way in the
Mhm.
contrast. It appears once we know more, we see things differently, right? We don't think it's a deception. We call it an out of alignment belief. It's just out of
Mhm.
alignment. It's a contrasting vibrational belief that we have been taught through
Yeah.
eons of time since we've
Yeah.
been coming into this third dimension. We have been taught that we are not good enough through religion, from our parents' beliefs, our teachers' belief, whatever it is. It's rampant. But of course, that's the journey. The journey is one of discovery. And our journey through the third dimension is a journey of choosing, I like to call it choosing our way out, because as you expand your awareness, you understand that you are the creator of your experience in every sense of the word, and your choices, which include your beliefs. This is a big subject, so I don't want to get off on a tangent yet. I want to follow your questions because they're so good and important. But our beliefs are so important. And of course, our beliefs are in alignment with the contrast. We've been here a
Mhm.
long time, thousands and thousands of lifetimes. And now we're standing at a new place.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you're starting the channeled writing, and I would expect, or you were probably doing it frequently at this juncture. How did it go from writing to actually being able to articulate what you were hearing?
Yeah. It took a long time for me, actually, because I was really stubborn. I wanted to make sure,
Nah.
I mean, yeah, I'm really stubborn, kicking and screaming I went, but and they just laughed. But it just continued. The conversations just continued every night. I have every one of them. I have laptops full of conversations I had. I have journaled my whole evolution through this segment. But it continued and continued until they told me, well, they were nudging me and guiding me. Now, inspired action, what that feels like. And before I was at the next step of this, the actual communicating to other people about this, I was being nudged and moved in directions that were on my eternal path, of course. So in about 2014, I think, I don't know, the years have gone, I don't keep time anymore, but they told me that they had moved me to Abraham and Esther Hicks. Had no idea who they were, never heard of her, but I had been listening to, this was their first thing they did. I started listening to Hay House Radio on my headphones at work every day, and I was listening to all the shows and all this stuff. And so then all of a sudden, they're saying Esther, Esther, Esther. And that's all I saw for about a week. It was every time I turned around, Abraham Hicks. And I said, okay, already. So then I found her on Hay House. And within 5 minutes, I understood that this was a new path for me. And when I really immersed myself in their teachings and went to the workshops and actually, read everything. And then a year later, in conversation, they said, "We are Abraham," because I'm still asking, "Who are you? Who are you? Who are you?" And they always said, "We'll reveal at the right time," and I didn't understand most of that. And they said, "We're Abraham." So I kind of laughed when they said that, and they just kept saying it, and it sounded like Abraham to me. It felt beautiful. So that went on for about a year, and then I got an opportunity to chat with Paul Selig. Love, love, love his work.
Love
He's
Paul. Yeah.
amazing. And so I had a Zoom meeting with Paul Selig, and during our conversation, he said, "Well, what's going on with you?" And I said, "Well, I'm a channel and I'm channeling Abraham." And he kind of went, "I don't think that's how it works." And as soon as he said that, I got this pit in my stomach. Like, man, for a year, you got to be kidding me. And he said, "I believe that Abraham belongs to Esther." And I just sat, I didn't know what to think then, because now after a year and more, because now they're telling me they've been Abraham this whole time. So I'm very confused at this. He says, "Let's go to the guides." And the guides said, there is a group who is trying to teach through her, but she needs to ask for their name. That's all they would say. So I got home that night, pulled out my laptop, and I said, "What gives, you guys?" And they said, "You have to understand something about every channel." And this was important for me in my whole evolution. So I'm telling you guys, all of you guys now, that everybody is unique. We teach a lot of that, your uniqueness. Just because one channel says something does not make it so for you. You must go with what resonates with you from within. It's so important to know that. And every channel has a beautiful message to deliver. Every single channel is important, and it's all for a purpose. There is not one that's not a wonderful, useful message, and you go by how it feels for you. And they said, "We are indeed Abraham, and we will reveal our name at the right time." So now I'm trusting them. but I'm even more confused, right? So like, what's going on? So a few days later, I was sitting outside, just kind of hanging out, and I see in my mind's eye a beautiful visual of a propeller plane that, the kind that fly over the beach when you're on vacation, come and party with us, whatever, with the banners. And here's this little propeller plane. It was really adorable against this bright blue sky. And there were three banners behind it. The first banner said Seth. The second banner said Abraham, and the third banner was blank. And they said, as I'm watching that third banner go by, they said, that's us. And I understood, it kind of all came together at that point. I understood. And then they went on to tell me later that we are teaching the expanded message. And, as we expand, everything is always in constant motion forward, constant expansion. As we focus on things, they get bigger, right? So every realm of consciousness is always expanding. So as Esther and Jane Roberts, and there are so many teaching from this consciousness, but where our message is concerned, where, Seth started it in the 60s, talking about us creating our reality, unbelievable message. Esther steps in the 80s and blows it up, just millions of people now. And so expanding this consciousness. So now enter the new earth. So we are that aspect of this consciousness who is teaching the human evolution toward our next stop, our next physical experience of the new earth. So that's my
Yeah.
story in a nutshell.
Oh gosh, that was so good. One thing I want to talk about is the trajectory of channeling on planet Earth and the shift in vibration and the clarity that we have now that wasn't available. I think back to Seth and Edgar Casey, it must have been like slugging through mud
Yeah.
for them to really get that connection. And I even look back on my own journey, and my connectivity when I was younger was so faint compared to what it is now.
Yeah.
It's almost as though the cavalry is here.
It's true.
It's
Well,
like
yes, yes.
we're,
It's a
we're
great
all
analogy.
we're
Yeah.
all, it's like they're all in place, they're here, they're available. And one story I want to share, and this is for those of you that are watching Cindy and thinking, oh my gosh, I'd love to have that kind of connection. How do I do that? What my experience is, and I think Cindy could probably validate this, is at this juncture on planet Earth, getting quiet, doing a little bit of meditating, and just writing in a journal with the intention of bringing in a higher vibrational aspect of yourself or the universe around you is just the ticket. It's really now where we are now on the planet.
Yeah.
It really has to do with asking an intention. And by golly, before you know it, you're on this lesson, on this learning train that can really unfold for you.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. It brings up a story for me too. When I first started, we all expect to experience, I say that generally speaking, can't speak for everybody, but this is what I've heard. It was for me. I don't know. But when we begin to hear things or things start happening and we start going, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute, and we dismiss, it's so important to understand that you are so unique. We are unique in our vibration. And this movement, channeling, communicating is vibrational. It is the most natural language. It's universal language. This is how people communicate with trees and with animals. Because every universal being has the ability to communicate vibrationally, and expanding your awareness of who you really are expands to include the upper realms, let's say, the expanded versions of you where the communication is available. But if you don't believe it, you'll never get there, because the vibration is, most people say high enough. We say more expanded. We say out there, up there, out there. It doesn't matter. Beyond our reach. Some people think it's beyond your reach, but in the beginning, I was watching channels before I started speaking it. I was watching other channels, and I had watched channels before all of this started. I was always fascinated with it. And they were going into trances. You can look at when Jane Roberts was channeling Seth. She was in a total trance, totally gone, didn't remember anything. When Esther began channeling Abraham, totally gone, voice changed. It was spooky for some people. She had to adjust her vibration in order to hear them. Now, of course, we all have to do that. So I'm looking at all these channels who are going into a trance and closing their eyes and protection and all this stuff. And I tried it all. And Joseph was just sitting there waiting for me to come back saying, why isn't this working? Why isn't this working? And they say, Cindy, we've been telling you for a long time, you don't have to do that. We are in a new world. You don't
Yeah.
have to do that. The only action that is necessary is focus. Now, if that helps you to go into a trance, if you feel more comfortable, absolutely. It's your choice. You are unique. But your description of getting quiet and journaling, that is focus. That is focus. Meditation is just focus.
And the
Focus,
intention.
attention. Yeah.
And the intention is everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tell people all
Mhm.
the time, well, how do I have a connection like yours? Because we're channeling all the time. We're exempling a blended vibration all the time, because this is what we want to encourage in everybody. And that is to incorporate or to allow and invite really your soul aspect, the expanded version of you, the higher aspect, higher self, call it whatever you want, your expanded vibration into your daily life so you can choose better. You can choose
Yeah.
better. Look at the chaos we have created in this world. It's terrible. But it's not, well, I say it's terrible. They would never say that. We say it is manifestations of the contrast. When you
Mhm.
choose and create from a vibration that is out of alignment with who you are, that's what you get.
Speaking of Joseph,
Yeah.
can we kind of shift over and I'd like to ask a few questions if that
Sure.
works for you. Now,
Yeah.
Cindy's process is a little different. And I know this because I stalk her on the internet.
Is
It's
that
very,
you?
yes, it was me. And if you feel like someone's like haunting you, it's me.
But it feels really good. It's fun. I feel it's a love thing. Yeah.
Cindy's process is very conversational, which I love
Yeah.
because what that demonstrates to me, and I would imagine this is intentional from your team to let people know this is available. This is
Yes.
now, I mean, my gardener's probably a Reiki master right now.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. You're
it's
right.
available to all of us now. And
Yes.
I really want to encourage you, if you're fascinated by this whole concept and you're looking for answers, it is right there for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So, Cindy, if you'd like to bring Joseph in, I have a few tough
Always here.
questions.
Always here. There's no
Okay.
tough question.
All
Now I'll
right.
tell you, I'll start this because some of your audience is probably not even familiar with channeling. And if they are, I don't look like I'm channeling. And I have gotten some flack from some people who don't have the awareness yet, I guess. But it is just a shift in my focus. This is how.
Mhm.
So, Joseph, I have incorporated them. We are a blended vibration. I walk around blended. And it is very easy now. Took some time for me. It's easy now to shift my focus from my third dimensional life and my smart ass remarks to my higher self, my higher vibration. And so in interviews like this, I'm present, but they answer and you'll be able to hear the difference, I believe. Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shoot, whenever you're ready.
So, Joseph, the first question I have, it's the question we all have on this planet. What the heck's going on? It seems like a disaster here right now.
Yeah.
Give us some insight from a broader perspective.
Yeah. Of course, we get this question a lot, which is why we're here now at this time. Everybody who has stepped forward at this time, including you, Kimberly, and we're grateful for you for presenting this platform for people. But what's happening on your planet now is a shift in consciousness. Now, some people have heard this, some people have heard it and don't quite understand it, but we'll tell you what this is about as quickly and painlessly as we can. You, as this human aspect, you are an aspect of God, you are an aspect of your soul, which means you are a vibrational component, the experiencer you are of other dimensions. And right now, you are the human physical aspect of your non-physical soul who has chosen to and has been experiencing this third dimensional contrasting realm of vibration for eons of time, thousands and thousands and thousands of lifetimes, and coming back, leaving, always expanding, always expanding. And as you have expanded through the vibrational timelines that are held within the third dimension, all new experiences, every time you return here, you are experiencing a shift in consciousness, usually unknown to the human up to this point. But you come back as the expanded version by way of the expansion of your soul. Now, we don't want to get too deep into this because this could be a very confusing concept to some people, but we would recommend at this juncture to go to the website, go to our website, and there's a video on the front page called The Evolution of the Human Aspect, where we give a 9-minute overview of why you're here and where you are now. So we're going to inject that now. So you have been experiencing many, many thousands of shifts in consciousness, always within the contrasting realm. So you had an idea. The dominant creative vibration of the human collective has always been out of alignment with the vibration of who it is, the us of you, the love vibration of you, which is why you are experiencing and creating, continuing to create the beliefs, the understandings, the teachings, and the manifestations of the out of alignment choosing. In our vibration, in the vibration of your soul, of God, there is only love. There is nothing out of alignment. There is nothing that is not love-based in our vibration, in your vibration, the vibration of who you are. And this is a choice you have in every moment. So what's happening now is you are, as more and more are awakening and stepping up to the plate as you have, people are questioning. And as you're questioning, you are raising the vibration of the planet by opening new doors of understanding. Your eternal path, this is such a big subject. The eternal pathway, the collective eternal pathway is your eternal soul's pathway, and it is paved in love, and it is always in front of you. So the difference in this shift in consciousness and the shift in consciousness that you have experienced many, 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 many times is that now you're standing on the precipice of a new experience, an experience of a vibrational realm where there is no fear. We say that the human collective is now addicted to fear to
Yeah.
the degree that most don't want to shift. We hear, but Joseph, it's hard. And we say, from the third dimensional perspective, yes, it's hard. From our perspective, it's a choice. It's a choice. It's always a choice.
So my question is, we are love. The basis of the entire creation is love. How did Earth get so out of alignment? When did fear come in? How did fear even come in if we are basic is if love is the foundation?
Love is the foundation of who you really are. Now, we're going to try to create a visual for you, okay? And those of you who go and watch that video will understand this more. It's a little hard to do it without the visual, but let's say, now, first you have to understand that there are unlimited aspects of you, of us. There are unlimited aspects. Really tough for us to wrap our head around that. We can't. So this is why we're focusing on this aspect, on the us of them, on the us of us, the human, the physical aspect, who's experiencing the third dimension. Now, remember, there are unlimited realms of consciousness in the universe. We happen to be focused here, right now, here in the earth, on this particular aspect, which we call our human aspect, our human physical experiencer. And every time you experience love, we all expand. Okay. So when you first came in, now your time frame is eternity. You are eternal beings, and you have been in many, many different universal galaxies and realms of consciousness, experiencing different pathways, experiencing different choosing. So when you chose collectively with your collective soul to begin your journey in a realm that offered a vibration that is in contrast to who you are, the purpose of that is for expansion. And you expand by way of your choosing. But you don't know that when you first come in. So let's say, try to make this really simple. Let's say you're dropped in, you dive into the third dimension, okay? And let's picture it like this. So now you're way down here, okay? You're way down at the bottom of this funnel where it's really dark. It's dark. And you're the only light there, but you don't know who you are. So your creative force is that of the realm of consciousness that you are experiencing. You are in vibrational agreement with it. So therefore, it is dominant in the third dimension. It's dominant in the contrast. Contrast is not a bad thing. But this is how we journey out of it, by expanding our knowledge, by expanding and knowing and choosing and screwing up. And I say screwing up, they don't. So we come in eons of time ago, and let's say we're creating from 90%, 99%, we'll make it real, 99% contrast, 1% love, because we don't know any better. We have to discover it. Our eternal path is a pathway of discovery for us, the human aspect. So we're at 99.1, and we're creating contrast. We're creating from the contrast, out of alignment stuff, and we're killing each other. So then we leave, come back several times. So I'll speed this up. So we leave, come back, leave, come back. Then we're creating 80% from the contrast, 20% from love. Our expansion is by way of our soul, that we always are. Sometimes we're this physical being, we're always our soul. That vibration is always accessible to us. Leave and come back, leave and come back. Then we're at 70 contrast, 30 love, and we're starting to wake up. We're starting to understand. Edgar Casey's come into the world. Before that, the Buddhas, Jesus, we keep coming back, right? 60-40. So here we stand now, 50-50. And now we're saying, I get it. And now I see how we, the human collective, has created what we are experiencing. That's one thing that's really taught out of the human early on, is that you have no power. That's where the unworthiness comes in, right? But the power is in your choosing. The power is in your choosing and the understanding of vibration and your vibrational role in your experience. When all of this horrible, I don't want to say the word stuff, started happening 3 years ago, I said to Joseph, I am not getting involved in that. So what do I do? And they said, it's the same always, Cindy. Whatever's happening out there, as you refer to it, is something that has been created. And as you focus on it and participate in it, you are helping to create it and you will experience it. But the universal truths never cease to work. You are still the creator of your own experience. You're still the creator of your own physical reality. And so it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. It only matters what you are choosing. That's the only thing that matters, which is a big shift, for us. So what's going on now is more people are waking up, and the more light, everything is always in balance, remember. So the more light that is coming in, we are being bombarded with light right now because of the shift in consciousness. The earth is shifting too. And as more light comes in, more people, it's a simultaneous action. More people are focusing on the light and questioning and asking, what? And more light is being called in. It exposes more of the darkness. Now, you have always had chaos on your planet. You have always been creators of the contrasting manifestations by choice. You just didn't know it. You didn't know it. Throughout, you have had amazing teachers in every single step of your journey, amazing teachers. Most of you don't pay attention. Most of you aren't paying attention now. But we continue to expand, and those who are paying attention and are saying, wait a minute, this is resonating. Maybe not us, but somebody is resonating. And we would encourage whatever message resonates with any of you to move in that direction, because this is on your eternal path. That's how you feel it. So it's all in the choosing. And the first choice that is necessary, we would say, is to understand that you do have a choice.
Yeah.
And you can, and to get in touch with your own understanding of vibration.
Yeah. Let's bring it down to really simple terms and talk about those choices and being in alignment. And I know that some people are saying, okay, I know exactly what that means because I can feel it. And other people are saying, I don't know what you're talking about. It's confusing to me.
Yeah.
I get up, I go to work, I go to the grocery store, I come home, I make dinner, I go to bed.
Yeah.
Can you share with us give us kind of a 101 on how it feels, what it means, the experience of being in alignment, just really the very basics for those who just aren't getting it but want to.
Yeah. Alignment is the feeling is the manifestation really of love, and it is unlimited. So we would normally say, if you have children, this is how we try to describe it, because until you feel it, you don't know it. So it's hard to feel something or to recognize a feeling that you're not aware of.
Yes. It's like trying
Um,
to imagine a color you've never seen.
yes,
You
yeah,
can't do it. You don't
yeah.
have the reference.
Exactly. So we say, and we say this to many people, that if you've had a child, and the first time you are handed that baby in the hospital or wherever you had this beautiful little thing, and it looked at you, the feeling of that overwhelming, you hear the people say, you can't describe that love. You hear them say, I never thought I could love something like this. That is a feeling of alignment. That is self-love. That is the connection of oneness. That experience can be experienced, and the experience of love is so many, it's unlimited. When you are passionate about something, that's the feeling of alignment. When you are authentically excited about something, that's the feeling of alignment. When you are, when you first fall in love, the what they call the honeymoon stage, where you either lose 50 pounds or gain 50 pounds, and you can't think of anything else, and it is overwhelming. It is expressed in the third dimension, that kind of experience, as coming from another, but it's actually an in alignment relationship with yourself. And you are experiencing a soul connection, but the soul connection is with you. And so, because you're experiencing alignment. So, when you are choosing from the space of alignment, creating your reality from the space of alignment, you are choosing those vibrations that we call thoughts, that are in alignment with that vibration. And the first indication of your vibrational, the dominant vibration that you are emitting, which is what you are creating from, the dominant vibration you're focused on is what you're creating from in every moment, is based on how you feel. So if you're in an argument with somebody, and you can sit down and after this, and you can say, yeah, I get that now. If you've had an argument with someone, and you are a person who lives in fear and experiences fear, you're creating it if you're living that way. The out of alignment position will manifest emotions like anger and jealousy and resentment and loneliness. Everything that's not love is a manifestation of a contrasting out of alignment vibration. You cannot create an experience that is in alignment. You cannot create an experience of love or joy or peace, excitement, passion. You cannot create that experience from the out of alignment position. It's impossible. There must be
Mhm.
vibrational agreement. And when you are experiencing those out of alignment emotions, you are creating a pathway toward that experience in your physical reality. You're creating that reality for yourself. So they're polar opposites, which is how you tell.
My experience, and I would love for you to comment on that from a broader perspective, is that sense of alignment. And sometimes I call it intuition or
Mhm.
just being in the zone.
Yes.
It's like a muscle. The more I work it, the stronger it gets, and the easier it is to connect with it, and the easier it is to find that sweet spot where I know exactly where to go. And this was not true in my 20s, not in my 30s, a little bit in my 40s, more in my 50s, and now in my 60s. I literally almost cannot do something that is really off course because that that directional guidance is so strong.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how we as humans, like, how does that work?
Well, it's funny that you say you call it a muscle because it is described that way. You need to work that muscle. It's just like lifting weights. You need to work that muscle in order to get. And we would say that the muscle you're talking about is actually your focus, because the more you focus on it, the more of it you see. And it's just like we say this all the time. They say, "Well, what do you mean by that?" Well, if you say, "I want, I think I'm going to buy a red car." I'm not sure which kind yet, but I think I'm going to buy a red car. Now the red car, the color red is in your awareness. Now, as you're traveling through your day and going through, all of a sudden you will see red cars, red cars, red cars, red cars all over the place, because now you've introduced it, you've expanded you've expanded your awareness to include this desire. So if you have a desire to connect, if you have a desire to expand your awareness, and we hope you all do, because that's why we're here, the more you focus on anything, the more it expands. Everything. That is the universal truth. That's the law of attraction. The more you look at something, it expands. This is why you say when you write in your journal, now you're getting more and more in tune with that vibration because you're focused on it. You're focused
Okay.
on it. You're expanding your awareness. And as you expand your awareness around anything, you get more opportunity to experience it. You're actually inviting the experience into your reality.
And that's where you keep saying choosing, choosing, choosing. That's where choosing comes in.
Yes. Yes. You need to choose. Like now, when they first were telling me about this in and out of alignment stuff, I was saying, well, how do I know? Well, how do I know? Well, you know by the way you feel. And if you
Mhm.
feel doubtful, if you feel unworthy, and of course, there are unlimited manifestations of both positions, of both creative positions in and out of alignment. And you tell by how you feel. You can tell what you are creating for your next experience by how you feel in the beginning. It's that down by the river process, that ego soul thing.
Mhm.
And when you can stop and say, oh, like when I went through many periods of the roller coaster and saying, I don't believe any of this. I don't believe any of this. Nothing's happening. And we get I was out of alignment. And after a few days of that, I get really tired of that. And I say, all right, what's going on? Because I can't hear them if I'm out of alignment. You can never hear. You must be in alignment in order to, it's like with any manifestation. If you want to create something, you have to be in alignment with the desire.
Mhm.
So when I was going through all of those doubtful times and all that stuff, and after a few days, I would say to them, okay, I'm exhausted. I would be like this. Oh my God, I'm exhausted. Now what do I do? And they say, Cindy, you're just out of alignment. Everything is very simple. If we look at it from a vibrational perspective, you are out of alignment. If you feel unworthy, you're out of alignment. If you feel hopeless, you're out of alignment. You don't know who you are. And that's the journey, is to discover who you are as the physical aspect experiencing this physical world, because we're moving
Mhm.
into a vibrational experience. That's what the new earth is,
Yeah.
all vibrational.
And that's something that I see so commonly in our culture and on the planet. I don't think it's unique to the civilization or to the people in the US or Europe,
Um,
is that we think this is reality.
yeah,
This is just the function of our vibration.
that's right. Absolutely.
So the vibration is the reality.
Yes.
And what we're seeing are the pieces created from that
Yes.
vibration.
Yes, exactly. It's exactly right.
Mhm.
You know, that every realm of consciousness manifests itself. So if you are
Yes.
choosing the realm of contrast to create from, and of course you won't like what you create, but you can do it. We do it every day. We're doing it
Yeah.
every day, unaware. But every single realm. So if you know you have a choice, and you do, to choose a different vibrational foundation, because every foundation manifests something different, something different.
Right. Yeah.
There's no mistakes.
When I look at someone who, from my perception, is choosing fear repeatedly over and over and over again that used to frustrate me. What it does now, as I say, or what I believe I understand, is that their soul is just really exploring that whole thing, that whole fear thing. What is it? How does it feel? What does it do to me? And then when they're tired of it or they've learned what they need to learn, they're going to make a different choice.
Well, we would like to step into it's never the soul,
Oh, okay. You're right. Yeah.
it's not the soul, and this is another shift in perspective because the dark night of the soul has been taught for eons of time. The soul is experiencing, this horrible thing. The soul is in alignment. The soul cannot experience fear, does not experience hardship or hunger.
Yes.
The soul, it
Yes.
does not, it's the human aspect. And
Yes.
that's where the
Yes.
understanding of the aspects come in. Because
Hmm.
as we're expanding as this aspect, as we're expanding our understanding of who we are as the soul, just another aspect of the soul is expanding. And the soul has many aspects that it's expanding by way of, you
Hmm.
know? So we
Yeah.
refer to God as the collective soul. So we could never give you numbers to match because they're unlimited. There's no number to say
Right.
how many
It's
aspects there
unlimited.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I think about what is the great basis for my happiness, it
Mhm.
is my sadness. Because through that, through those really tough times, is where I've learned that it is my choice.
Yes.
It
You
is my
don't have to
choice.
choose that.
And I've experienced that deep sadness.
Yes,
I don't want to do that anymore. I'm choosing something different.
exactly. I've
And
done the same
here,
thing.
yeah,
I don't
and
want
here on earth, and I don't want to belabor this, but there is the common perception with a lot of people on earth, or a lot of humans on earth humans, that it's happening to us.
right.
Oh, it's happening to me. This happened to me. This happened to me. And it's an amazing shift when you really embrace that responsibility and that perception of
Yes.
making a different choice. And then things just start getting a little sweeter.
They do because you're creating from a different vantage point,
Hmm.
you know. If you
Yeah.
always play the victim role, oh, this guy hurt me, or, how can my boss do that to me? No,
Yeah.
you're always attracting what your dominant vibration is.
Hmm.
And if you're not
Yeah.
happy, move,
Yeah.
move.
Do something different.
We're
Yeah.
multi-dimensional. And it's such an adventure and exciting. We call it the treasure hunt, to discover how
Yeah.
many different experiences we can have. Once you understand your vibrational makeup and what you have in that ability, you are your soul. You have every ability that your soul has within you.
Hmm.
Jesus said, or God, I don't remember who it was, same. The kingdom of God is within you, and we
Yes.
translate to say that the consciousness of God is within you. The
Yeah.
consciousness of God is within you. And another, this has been coming up a lot lately too. Um, I don't know why they're doing this about the Bible thing. That's kind of weird. But when God said, I put before you life and death, choose life, we
Yes.
translate that as I put before you in and out of alignment, choose love. Choose love
Hmm.
in all resolution. You can choose whatever you want and expect to experience exactly what you're choosing in your physical reality. You're
Yeah.
choosing a vibration in every moment, every
Yeah.
moment.
So
Yeah.
beautifully said.
It-
I want to share, and I shared this with Cindy before we came on. And this was an example of having that attraction, that vibrational attraction. Before I came on with Cindy this morning, I was watching something that was really it upset me, it disturbed me. So I turned it off. And I was thinking about it and I thought, the answer, what rings true for me is the answer is to really follow that core within me, that core of integrity, that core of love, that core of truth. That's the only answer. We can't look for the answer in another person or a system or a function or a government. It's finding that true center.
yeah.
And then I started looking up Cindy's books that she's written with Joseph. And the title is it allowing your, what's,
Allow your soul to lead. Yeah.
Allow your
So
soul to lead, which was exactly the articulation of what I had come to. It was just a perfect example of bringing in to your awareness where you're at. So, Cindy, let's talk a little bit. The reason I want to talk about these books is because if you're confused, or if you just want a little bit of guidance, Cindy has a series of books channeled with Joseph. And can you show us one, Cindy? I just want to talk about
I'll
how
show you
easy
this
and
one.
accessible
Yeah.
they
This
are.
is, I don't know if you can
Yeah.
see it with the
So
reflections, but
they're shorter volumes that really walk you through the process of building that muscle.
you can see them on the website. It's easier. But
Yeah.
yes.
Mm.
And I want to say too, thank you for that. But I want to say too that the reason that they have entitled this series, Allow Your Soul to Lead, is because where we're standing right now, we're standing on the precipice of this fourth dimensional shift into the new earth vibration, which is in the fifth, obviously. The fourth dimensional, we have not, as this human aspect and as the human collective, we have, like we said before, we have been through many, many shifts in consciousness. This time, we don't know our next step. We have never lived without fear. We have never not had it to choose. We don't know what it's like to not choose fear. And who does know what it's like? Our soul. So we must allow our souls to guide us. And we do that by understanding the vibrational component that is the soul of us. And that's by how we feel, by the emotions. The same thing that made you turn off whatever you were watching this morning. It immediately, that was your ego saying, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off. It immediately said, you don't need to see, you don't want, it's uncomfortable because it was a contrast to your dominant vibration, which is now in alignment, which is a beautiful way to live. But we're
Yeah.
here, we're here in the
Mhm.
contrast. So we must choose.
Yeah. Cindy, can you talk to us? And our time is getting short here, but I do want to talk about the monumental shift
Mhm.
that humanity is on the precipice of.
Yeah,
And this is the whole galaxy is watching us.
yeah, yeah, they are helping us.
Watching and helping. Can you talk about what your understanding is and why we're getting so much help right now?
Well, it's not we liken it to the previous story that we told about you being or diving into or being dropped into the third dimension. You are now on the precipice of being dropped into, diving into, because you're choosing it, diving into your next physical experience. That's what this is. When you have mastered as this aspect, when you have mastered the third dimension, and the mastering we're talking about is the ability to choose to experience your soul's vibration as your dominant creative force, then you're done. You're done with that. You've experienced it, you've expanded through it, and now you're on to the next adventure. And so that's exactly what this shift is. But this time we're doing it consciously. We're doing it consciously. So this shift is we're moving from a physical understanding of us as this physical aspect to a vibrational physical understanding. Now, there are vibrational fifth dimensional cities that are here on your earth in many places. One that Cindy has visited is Mount Shasta in California. There was a fifth dimensional city in that mountain. Very hard for this human to understand that. But when you understand vibration, you go, oh yeah, okay, I see that. So our physical body will always is a manifestation of the realm we are experiencing. So when we move into this next shift, where we kind of lighten up, we don't have the denseness of the contrast within us. We will be, I I picture us as kind of translucent, where we are
Mhm.
still physical, not this physical. We don't need our physical senses. This shift is the opportunity to incorporate our sixth sense, which is our vibrational acuity. We won't have our fifth dimension. We don't need our fifth dimensional touching, smelling, hearing, seeing, because all communication is vibrational. So we will have eyes and ears, but they will be manifestations of that other vibration, which is just beautiful. And they will be creations of our own. What do you want to look like?
Yeah.
What
You
do
know,
you want to feel like?
I kind of like, and I was thinking about this, understanding that we are shifting. And I was, there's a lot of things I like about being physical.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yes.
it's it's tactile. There's just a richness
Yeah.
with the physicality that I would love to have without all the other stuff.
Right. Well, that's what you'll have. That's what you'll have.
Mhm.
That's what you'll have. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It can be a wonderful, beautiful, just indescribable experience. And that's what
Yeah,
we're moving toward. That's what we're moving toward.
yeah,
So the biggest part of the shift is a shift in our perspective. And the one thing to understand in this shift, we would say the most important thing to understand is we don't recommend, or do we teach to that you must go back and unlearn anything. You don't unlearn anything, because everything you have learned has been in perfect alignment with where you are always. And it has served all of you beautifully. The beliefs, they're out of
yeah,
alignment, but you're an experience of choosing alignment. So when you understand your alignment, it makes it easier to choose, which is part of your journey, the next part of your journey. So we say, bless those things, bless those experiences. You don't want any of them to go away. You wouldn't say you have to unlearn algebra before you can learn calculus, because you have to make room for calculus. You are unlimited. You are unlimited and expansive. So we say, leave your third dimensional contrasting views and understandings, the teachings that have gotten you to this place, everything that is in alignment with the third dimension, tuck it in, kiss it on the forehead, and say, I'm off. And we create a new belief system that is now in alignment with the realm that we're moving into, because we don't take fear with us. Nothing.
yeah,
We don't take fear. We don't take unworthiness. We don't take anything that's out of alignment. So that's the main thing, is really we're creating the new aspect of us
yeah. So
from scratch.
exciting.
Yeah, it is really
Beautiful.
exciting. Yeah,
It's
it's
beautiful.
exciting.
So
Yeah.
even though it looks messy right now,
It looks messy, but you know
hang in
what?
there.
You can have your own experience. Yeah, you have your own experience. I have
Mhm.
created in this chaos, I have created a peaceful, abundant experience.
Yeah.
It must be that way.
Mhm. And those that do hold the space for those that come next.
Yes.
And the
Yes.
more that are holding that space,
Yes. Yes.
the easier it is for the rest to start slipping in. And before we know it, we've just got a complete shift
Yes.
in reality.
Remember what Abraham
Mhm.
says, one in alignment is more powerful
Powerful.
than a million who aren't, because of their
Mhm.
creative vantage point, creating from love.
Yeah. And the strength of that connection
Strength.
is just
Love is
powerful.
powerful,
Yeah.
powerful force. Beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Well, that's a wonderful place for us to end today. Cindy, this conversation has been so exciting to me. Thank
Oh,
you. And
Kimberly,
thank
thank you
Joseph.
so much. It's so much fun. It's a huge subject. Huge.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
huge. And people are scratching their heads going, what did she just say? And we get that. We get that. But start where you are. Always start where you
Hmm.
are.
Yeah. It's an
And
exciting, never ending journey.
it's never, yes, you're eternal. And just
Yeah.
know to your audience, just know that if you have the desire to move forward consciously on your soul's path, ask your soul and it will assist you. Be
Yeah.
open to it, invite it into your experience, and your life will change.
Yeah.
Your
This
life
is
will
a
change.
free will planet and
Absolutely.
it's your choice.
Yes.
Cindy, Edison, and Joseph, thank you so much.
Thank you, Kimberly. Such a joy. Thank you for what you're doing. We love it.
Okay. We'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye. I hope you enjoyed this video. Coming up next, this is a good one. Or you might really like this one too. Either one of them could be perfect for you. Before you leave, don't forget to subscribe.